Sonic the Hedgehog, one of the greatest and most attractive characters ever thought up. He can run at sound speed, take out enemies in a flash, and best of all, he's blue-colored and knows how to handle the females. Speaking of females, the Sonic universe might also be classified as hot chick.
Watch right here.
Heaven, because
Because that's what you deserve, you goddamn womanizing, raping, trolling, stupid, pickle-suited nigger.
Do you know what a brony is? If the answer is yes, then you probably also know what a furry is as well. For many decades at this point, both communities, massive fan bases, have found themselves at the centre of almost constant ridicule and have been the go-to community for jokes of those from the outside looking in, who find the strange antics and weird proclivities of the average community as comedy gold. And really, it's not hard to see exactly why this is the case. While there's nothing necessarily wrong with defying convention, these fan bases seemingly take it to an all-new level. While public perception towards these groups has changed in some ways over the years, usually due to the internet finding some other group to focus their mockery towards, to this day furries and bronies are still the butt of many jokes. But as you may have noticed, while furry and bronies are just two of the most widely known weird online communities, I've yet to mention the definitive third, the top of the Triforce if you will, the Sonic fanbase.
Sonic the Hedgehog, hot chick heaven.
I shouldn't have to tell you what Sonic is or the media empire that has spawned around him, because you all most likely know that already. Games, TV shows, feature-length films, and many other forms of multimedia have been created to continue the lore and world of a series all built around a blue, shoe-wearing hedgehog. Sega's Golden Boy has truly seen both meteoric success and true failure over the years, and while the series still chugs on this day, I personally find myself interested in Sonic for reasons that are completely different to the majority. While many still enjoy the games and watch the shows and films, whenever I see this blue fuck, I can't help but instantly think about how fucking weird the online culture surrounding this thing truly is. I'm not joking when I say that the internet is home to some of the strangest people on the planet, and a surprisingly large amount of them are absolutely obsessed with Sonic the Hedgehog to a worrying degree. Now, I shouldn't have to say this, but Sonic fans have a reputation for purposely reinterpreting things to complain, so I'll quickly just state the obvious. If you like Sonic the Hedgehog, whether you like the games or watch the shows and films, that doesn't make you a weirdo like some of the people I'll be describing in this video. Just picking up a Sonic the Hedgehog product doesn't automatically make you a dribbling spastic with 2 terabytes of Amy Rose pornography hidden under your bed, in the same way that playing a Yakuza game doesn't automatically make you a muscle-bound Chad.
Because of my injuries, I can no longer have sex with my wife anymore!
One of the most interesting things about this topic that I realised while doing some thinking about it was that although these communities are often talked about in a very similar way to each other, there are distinct differences between the Sonic fanbase to the furries and the bronies. The main reason bronies are so intriguing and funny to so many people is because the community is based around people who are the complete opposite of the intended target audience for the show. When you think of My Little Pony, you probably imagine a cutesy, colourful show for children, not a show that would cultivate an audience of sometimes middle-aged men and women who become so obsessed that they buy all the merchandise, watch all the episodes, attend massive fan conventions, and come up with fan theories that expand the lore and universe of a show intended for toddlers. The inherent idea behind bronies as a whole is weird and off-putting to many, which is why the community receives so much attention and why people frequently criticised and laughed at them. As well as the fact that, like many other online fan bases, the sheer amount and prevalence of My Little Pony pornography is truly staggering, which adds just another layer of strange to the mix. And the same goes with furries, the idea of people fixating on anthropomorphized animal characters so much that they create their own that exist as almost an extension of themselves while going out in public in big fursuits is strange to the average person. While most furries are probably normal people who enjoy the camaraderie of a community that lets them be creative, it's quite well known that many furries are very weird, and it also doesn't help that a large population of furries actively defy convention seemingly for the sake of it, only to then have a massive victim complex that lets them bitch and moan whenever they're not accepted for their strange proclivities. It makes them incredibly easy to rile up. Not to mention the prominence of furry pornography that is also just as staggering as the bronies' favourite fat material. While both communities, it's easy to see why so many weirdos are naturally attracted to them, because the communities themselves are built around naturally weird concepts. But when you really think about it, the difference between those communities and Sonic is that playing and enjoying a Sonic game isn't really all that strange, regardless of what gender or age you are. Most Sonic games still sell well, and I can't imagine all those sales are from children. The games are appropriate for all ages, and while the series is mostly clean, that doesn't mean that adults don't play them. What I'm trying to say here is that while it's easy to understand why weird people would naturally gravitate to weird subcultures, on its face, simply enjoying a video game franchise isn't all that weird. So why the fuck does this character and the series he stars in draw so many crazies, lunatics, and degenerates who look up to him as if he's a demigod? Well, after thinking about it for a while, I have come up with some answers. They might not be definitive, but they may serve to clear up some things. So, let's get to the list. Number 1. Kids and teenagers. I'm not going to linger on this one for too long because it's pretty obvious reason many give for why most fanbases have their most wince-worthy aspects, but also because I don't want to sound like I'm bullying young people just for liking things. But yes, kids are a pretty big reason why certain fanbases have a bad reputation online. I mean, look at the Danganronpa community, a series of games I generally like, but also a series that has one of the worst reputations on the web, that has managed to draw numbers of people who aren't even old enough to legally purchase the game for themselves because of its age rating. A massive franchise as beloved as Sonic is obviously going to attract audiences of all ages, but specifically children and teenagers, with them fixating over the game that they love. And when you get a lot of young people in one place and give them the ability to create and share whatever they want, well, it's probably going to result in a lot of things that may lack in quality, let's just say that. It's the same thing that happened to the creepypasta community many years ago. Shit-faced killer-obsessed teenage girls posted shitty, cliche-ridden stories and MS Paint fan art all over the web at the peak of the genre's popularity. So when people on the outside looking in saw nothing more than Slender x Jeff the Killer x Tiki Toby x Clockwork Your Time Is Up anal sex gay porn videos, it tanked the genre's reputation. And one of the most popular aspects of the Sonic community to mock has always ironically been its art and OC culture. This is pretty much the main reason that bad DeviantArt and Flipperclip compilations still exist. Because when children see something they like and can obsess over, they want to also replicate the stuff that the people they look up to make. While I think that kids and teens wanting to flex their creative muscles is a good thing and that should be nurtured, it doesn't make it any less embarrassing. There's a reason why when looking for clips to use in this video and while doing research, a good chunk of what I found was young people who lacked the self-awareness to know that what they were doing made them look like a bit of a goober. Is creativity, especially for children, a bad thing? No. Is it against the law? Of course not. But it is a pretty major aspect of why certain communities have a pretty massively bad reputation, and in the Sonic community, that's no different. I don't think that you should be openly criticising them as much as people tend to, and I feel that a lot of the most notorious bad Sonic art was probably done by quite a few young individuals. With that context removed, it's still very funny, and even with the context of the fact that most of these people are children and teenagers, it still is very funny. But the adults aren't going to get off as lightly. Number 2. Self-awareness. Self-awareness is a powerful tool. Most people begin to learn the art of self-awareness from a young age. It allows you to understand your own character, abilities, and what positions you hold in society. And if you know someone that has it, you probably don't even realise it, because self-awareness inherently helps you mitigate situations where your level of self-awareness is called into question. But as my dad used to say, people who lack self-awareness often talk the most, talk the loudest, but have the least to say. And if there's any community online that perfectly encapsulates the idea of a fan base that lacks self-awareness, it's the Sonic community. Sonic fans have an ironclad reputation for not having any self-awareness, and if some of the more well-known examples of the Sonic community's spurging is to be taken into account, they will also never be happy with any product Sega ever releases again. Whether it be expecting a multinational, multi-million-dollar company to halt its production lines to change completely inconsequential details just because they don't like it, or feeling like the games and media should be made in a way that they believe is right because they genuinely think a developer should completely neglect the wider audience in favour of making what the air quotes, true fans want. While a specific Sonic fan may have just come to mind when I described these scenarios, trust me, the community is full of these people. And honestly, the funny thing about this is that I wouldn't even necessarily blame them if they were choosing to criticise the quality of the games, because even as a person who has only played a few Sonic games in my time and wouldn't even consider myself a true fan of the series, even I know that a majority of the game in the series are either mediocre or complete dogshit. But instead, the weirdos in the fanbase choose to complain about completely inconsequential details that don't even really have an effect on the overall game's quality. And a bit reason for why this is the case is because the community is almost constantly huffing nostalgia. I was genuinely contemplating if I should include nostalgia in its own spot on the list, because it is a prominent aspect of why the community is so heavily criticised. But it also kind of ties into self-awareness in a way. Sonic fans are so obsessed with elements of the older games that if Sega was to give them what they truly wanted and make a new game based purely off of what the community's beliefs on what a air quotes true good Sonic game is, it would literally be an updated version of an already existing title in the series, because for a lot of these people, the only products that they are fans of from this franchise are things that remind them of other things that already exist. There's this pretty well-known video from many years ago at this point, where a Sonic fan who was also a bit of a lolcow at the time was reacting to a long-awaited trailer for a new game in the series, and of course he was disappointed. The first thing he chose to criticise, and would go on a rant about for the rest of the video, was the fact that the game didn't have any nostalgic value to them. Literally, what these people want is stuff that was already available to them 20 years ago, but despite just going and playing those games, they instead choose to focus on criticising pretty much every new aspect that the series has to offer. I'm not even a Sonic fan, and I own the first game on like 7 different platforms. It's not fucking hard. And this all really comes back to the main part of the video. I'm not just talking about individual self-awareness, but instead the entire community in general. The fact is, there are things out there that people really like that are just kind of fucking silly. I mean, trust me, I like things that some people wouldn't find any interest in because of how fucking weird they are, but that's fine. But I think it would make a lot of online communities a lot better to be a part of if people within them took a step back, looked at the things that they liked, and admitted to themselves that what they enjoy shouldn't be taken so seriously. I know a lot of people's actions in these communities are fueled by passion, and it can be difficult to differentiate a normal response from a passionate one. But let's all just try to have a little more self-awareness when it comes to what we love and not try to act like all of our thoughts and opinions are always correct, simply because we're more hardcore fans than everyone else in the community, and because we're literally obsessed with something that most other people find just a hobby or an interest.
Where to begin? Sega. Sega. Let's talk for a second. What part of retro don't you understand? From the amount of concept art and the black-eyed Sonic you used in the Hedgehog Day banner, that immediately gives us old school fans the impression that Sonic 4 would reflect the classic Genesis games, and I'm just not seeing it here. I mean, I'm not sure if you caved in to the little kiddies again, because all I'm seeing here is a rehashed Sonic Rush game ported to the consoles. The same ugly, stretched-out, green-eyed Sonic fighting the modern-style Eggman. Is that what he's going to be called too? Dr. Eggman? Ugh! I'm so infuriated right now. This is a complete turn-off. It's incredibly misleading. I mean, Sega, you have a lot of nerve. No, you have a lot of balls to even place this as a long-awaited fourth installment, because it just conjures up the same shitty garbage from the 3D games. This is not retro. I'm sorry. I do not have any feelings of nostalgia. This is not the worthy follow-up to Sonic 3 and Knuckles. I'm sorry, Sega. You failed in delivering 3D games, and you failed in delivering 2D games. Fuck you. I'm done with this franchise.
Number 3, obsession. People can be obsessed with pretty much anything. Cars, comic books, fuck. When I was a toddler, I was obsessed with doorknobs and opening and closing doors. There are people out there obsessed with socks, and there are people out there obsessed with cereal. But when it comes down to it, Sonic fans and obsession go hand in hand. Everything from the design of the character all the way down to the voice actor that plays him, and it's not only just Sonic that gets this treatment. Also picture that, but with the large cast of characters that feature in the Sonic universe, and it really quickly becomes obvious that there is something about this series, and specifically Sonic as a character, that really draws obsessive people to him like a magnet. But before we get into the strange obsessions, I wanted to show you something else first. I decided to look at the Sonic fan wiki because fan wikis have always been the premier place to learn about pretty much every single aspect of everything you may find interesting. And I was truly shocked at how much sheer info was featured about the Blue Blur himself. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say that the existence of a fan wiki based around a character is the issue, because plenty of things have fan wikis. If you like something, there's most likely an extensive Wikipedia created by dedicated fans that document everything you could possibly want to know. But then when I started to look a little deeper at this one specifically, it really started to show me how dedicated the community can truly be. Incredibly in-depth articles for major and even minor characters, articles about esoteric minor aspects of the games that most wouldn't even really think about. It's truly insane how much effort has gone into these wikis, and what's even crazier is that there are many of these. If you want to find out something about Sonic the Hedgehog, while it might take some time and digging, I guarantee someone out there has been able to archive it. And honestly, I actually find it quite impressive, because as someone who loves learning tons of info about things that I love, it's obvious that these pages are created due to a passion for the series. But of course, that's not what many know this community for. As I said before, many take this series so seriously that every single aspect is put under major scrutiny by a select few extra dedicated and obsessive fans to an almost unbelievable degree. Everything from the eyes to the length and thickness of the arms and legs to the exact geometry of Sonic's quills have received ire and vitriol from screaming man-children who are so fixated on this character that they refer to him sometimes as if he's a real person or even a transcendent being. It's pretty hard to deny that when someone from the outside looking in sees the crazy people that have become immortalized in the community for their weird and oftentimes creepy actions, they're gonna be put off. And while it would be stupid to claim that the entire community is like this, The stereotype of Sonic fans being primarily weird, emotionally unstable man-children must have come from somewhere. And don't even get me started on the shipping and romance aspect of the community. With the power of hindsight on the internet, we can uncover many old forums and platforms where this stuff used to run rampant. People genuinely getting into hostile arguments with each other over how seriously they take this stuff. And forums that existed where people, get this, claimed they were married to Sonic characters, like legitimately in real life, even going as far as to confess their real life, unrequited feelings for Sonic characters. While these aspects of the community may not be as prominent now, as the internet becomes more and more focused around a small handful of major platforms that everyone uses, as opposed to the internet of old where pretty much any interest has dedicated forums and websites, if you look, it probably wouldn't take you very long to find this sort of stuff still happening to this day. Number 4. Perversion. Rule 34 states that if something exists in this world, there's probably someone out there who derives sexual gratification from it. So if something exists, there's probably porn of it. If that truly is the case, then I personally believe that Rule 16 should state that if there is a weird, notorious or off-putting fetish out there in the past, the present or the future, a not safe for work Sonic fan artist has probably adapted it into the world of Sonic the Hedgehog through the realm of fan art. I don't really have to say much about this one, do I? Because it's pretty much the crowning aspect of the community. For some reason, it's become common knowledge that Sonic the Hedgehog is at the ground zeros when it comes to the crossover value for pretty much every strange fetish that has ever pervaded the internet. From farts, piss and shit, pus, to amputee and guru, odds are Sonic fan artists have depicted Sonic and his furry ensemble of friends busting it down sexual style for your viewing pleasure or displeasure. From amateur artists who look like they're still learning to draw a circle, to artists so talented that their work looks like it's on the same level of quality as the people who work on the fucking games they love, there are hundreds of thousands of images, videos, and writings worth of vizard content dedicated to adding an adult side to a family-friendly series like Sonic the Hedgehog. And the one thing that I want to say is, I would hate to know the number of kids that grew up in the Sonic community who now live with untrainable fetishes for things like inflation and dirty diapers. Ugh, they're too far gone now, there's no saving them. A moment of silence for our lost brethren who were too addicted to Amy Rose inflation and Tails miles per hour, or whatever the fuck his name is, fart videos. That 10 bell salute or whatever the fuck they do for wrestlers that die. And really, I could probably go on all day, but I don't think I'll do that. I think those are the main general reasons why I believe that the Sonic community's reputation is so strange in the wider internet community. The fact of the matter is, I intended to make this video a general look at reasons why I think the reputation of this community has become so ironclad over the years. I didn't want to bring up any specific people or situations because that would have added a barrier to entry to the video that I initially didn't intend. Because if I did, it'd probably just be another excuse for me to talk about weird things Chris Chan's done for 35 minutes. But the fact of the matter is, I generally believe that these few reasons are the main culprits for why this reputation has pervaded on the internet for so long. And also because I just wanted to make an easily digestible video for people to watch who were interested in this topic. Now, in the same way that bronies and furries have had their reputations kind of change over the years from mockery and jokes to relative acceptance from most people who have moved on to other interests, the fact of the matter is, it still is a very interesting topic that I think a lot of people have still had questions about. So I think that's probably it, because I've spent the better part of a majority of my free time for the last week coming up with reasons for why I think this is the case, and doing a lot of research into the general Sonic community. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, leave a like. I don't usually ask for this, but I'm nearly at 1,000, so if we could get me to 1,000, that'd be pretty fucking sick. And yeah, have a good day.